but really excited to be here and share the story of Zaprite. So I just want to first go through the kind of origin story of Zaprite. So at the time, I was living up in Canada in 2018, late 2018, early 2019. And I was a freelance UI UX designer, and I started working for Bull Bitcoin in Canada doing UI UX design freelance work. And they were paying me in Bitcoin. But I had to figure out a way of actually invoicing them and getting paid. There really wasn't any tools out there at the time. They were a proper business. They wanted to expense the work, so they needed a proper invoice. I wanted it to be a self-custody payment flow. I wanted that Bitcoin to come directly to me. I didn't want to use any of there was tools out there already that you could, that were, they were either shitcoin companies or they were just custody companies that would force you to go through them. And then I just wanted it to take care of all the regular stuff like notifications to sender receiver, doing the live exchange rate, everything that I just didn't want to have to deal with the client for doing that. And then of course full accounts for full records for accounting. And in the process of working through this solution, the real kind of vision came for the product by just realizing that Bitcoin payments is going to be a necessity for everybody in the future. Every business will eventually take Bitcoin payments. Bitcoiners logically understand that now, but if you understand the store of value of Bitcoin, the next logical step is accepting the Bitcoin as payment. It's the same calculus. You come to the same conclusion. You don't want to wait until you're in a position where you have to do that and you have to get the infrastructure together and you have to be scrambling to take those payments. You want to benefit from those payments early on. You want to get your payments flow set up quickly. You just want to basically be ahead of the game and start that journey early. Why Bitcoin payments and fiat, which is a core part of Zaprite's product still to this day. We're all mostly Bitcoiners in this room, so I won't dwell too much on a lot of this stuff. Obviously, there's the ease of final settlement, which is like a huge one for merchants. Really, as well, is like Bitcoin, accepting Bitcoin as payment is one of the most efficient ways to get Bitcoin onto your balance sheet as a business. It's a direct line to the consumer, and it opens up a lot more channels for you to actually get that Bitcoin. Whereas if you're just constantly relying on fiat payments, you're then having to take that fiat and bring it to an exchange and go through all of the hurdles that necessitates to get that Bitcoin in. And you're not relying on that one single channel of that exchange to just constantly send your fiat over and get your Bitcoin back. Opening it up to every customer you have, giving them that option, opens up a lot more channels for you to get that in. It's obviously going to be cheaper as well, and you're reducing some of the risk there on the exchange side. Again, the risks of fiat, we all know these: holds, chargebacks, rising costs. I think we've all probably, opened up Twitter. It seems like every week now there's, a major influencer account or somebody who's had their account Stripe or somebody shut down somewhere. They've had, credit card fees rising, more and more people getting involved in those payments, governments, regulations coming in, really forcing a chokehold on the channels that you can actually accept payments on. And one of the things as well that, I was listening to Grant on what Bitcoin did recently, and we're talking about the bank failures, and a couple of people have mentioned it here today as well. And those things did happen really quickly, and there were companies who were struggling to pay payroll. And so, having this emergency fund is actually critical now that you actually have that in Bitcoin, because you cannot rely on your fiat bank to actually be there in the morning for you to be able to make payroll. And having Bitcoin on your treasury and having a healthy balance of that, it's not only good for your books and your business as a whole, but it also will get you out of an emergency in situations where we will start seeing more of these banks failing at a very quick rate. And then I mentioned above as well, why and fiat. And because I think you basically just have to meet, we have to meet businesses where they are right now when we're providing this service. There are very few businesses that are in the extremely lucky position of being able to take 100% Bitcoin from all of their customers all the time. So the fiat rails are quite important to still have in there. And that's really kind of what we do as well, is we realize that there's a lot of channels that people are still working with to take those fiat payments in. And so we want to offer the side-by-side Bitcoin and fiat rails while we're in this period of trying to transition businesses onto a Bitcoin standard, because it really is a critical part of the next few years of understanding that businesses will probably take slower steps forward into this, and so offering them those options along the way as well is critical. And so it all revolves around that one integrated payment flow where we can offer the traditional payments that they're comfortable with, their customers are comfortable with, and then putting the Bitcoin payment in front of them as well. So what that kind of led to is what Zaprite is today as a payment gateway. What it looks like is you basically come to us with any wallet. We're wallet agnostic. We're non-custodial. We don't hold funds. We don't take possession of funds on the way in or out. It's a direct peer-to-peer payment. So we basically just work on providing an excellent payment experience on top of the wallets that you already have and you're already comfortable with. We're not going to go ask you to KYC with somebody else just to use our platform. You come to us with what you've already got set up. So you can see here examples like, Strike. You want to do your Lightning through Strike. You want to do your on-chain straight into custody like with Unchained. And then you got your traditional payments, Square, ACH, card pays, all that stuff, Apple Pay, traditional stuff. So the beauty of Zaprite is you get to basically configure each and every one of these checkouts on a per invoice base, on a per payment link base. You can really customize all of these individual checkouts for each customer, for each payment that you're taking. You can tailor that for your exact needs and your customer's exact needs as well. And obviously, the beauty of this as well is that if one of these platforms goes down and you need to quickly switch to another one, it's very, very easy. It's just like one toggle and you're basically straight switched over to another one. And this works great for things like Lightning liquidity and stuff as well. You might have an L&D connection and you're connecting your own node and you're managing your own liquidity. All of a sudden you get a spike in payments, which is great, but you drain your liquidity. You can then quickly just switch over to something like Strike and keep those payments going. And all of these things can be changed on the fly on live checkouts and everything as well. So why Zaprite? I mean, I just touched on this really. It's any wallet, anyone, anywhere. Because we don't custody funds, we don't have to do huge amounts of KYC as well. Right now, you just need an email address to sign up. So we're pretty much open to, every user, every person, every country in the world, bar OFAC countries, as mentioned before. And we have the full range of payments, on-chain and Lightning, custodial and non-custodial, Bitcoin and fiat. So while we do, try to promote self-custody as much as possible, we all think that is, a good long-term solution. We do recognize that there are amazing companies like Unchained and Strike and everybody else that you can work with, either on a custodial or non-custodial basis, to enhance those experiences of these payments coming in onto your treasury. And again, the flexibility of templates. The checkout that I just showed on the previous screen, that's kind of the end result of how your customer is going to pay you. And those checkouts can be built in various different ways. One of them is standard Bitcoin business invoicing or billing. Another one is payment links. Invoicing is one-to-one, payment links just one-to-many. You can sell tickets, t-shirts, anything you can think of. You can even create donation forms by just checking a box and allowing the customer to choose what they pay. And then e-commerce as well. We've got a WooCommerce extension that we just recently released and got approved into the WooCommerce directory for WordPress stores. So that's been a great one that customers have been asking for as well. So now they can actually use their Zaprite hosted checkout. They can send customers over when they've created a WooCommerce order to the cart there, and then they just make the payment and send it back. And that leads into some of the future stuff that we're looking at as well. I'll touch quickly on the API and webhook stuff, because when we were building the WooCommerce product, we realized that it was very easy then for us to extend that feature out to users and allow them to actually just programmatically create orders through our API and then redirect their customers over to the hosted checkout and then get redirected back. And they'll get webhook calls when order statuses change and stuff like that. So this is pretty big because it now opens up Zaprite to be used by any developer and used on building on any platform, a custom website or anything, anywhere. They're not restricted to using our web app to create their payment links or their invoices. They're not restricted to using the WooCommerce extension. They can build their own custom platform, do whatever they want, and they can have all of these payments immediately integrated in a hosted, branded, custom checkout that they've configured. And then there's the tools for business reporting. Like we need to know how well our businesses are performing, whether that's on a fiat standard or a Bitcoin standard. So having all those tools for accounting, tax, sales reporting, and everything is pretty critical as well. A recent one we just launched is Teams, which basically, you know, obviously it just allows anybody to invite other members into their account at Zaprite. That was a big one that people have been asking for a while, so we're really stoked to get that one in there. And I touched on this before as well, but like I think it's really important to go over again, is that we are a complement to wallets and custody. We're not trying to replace somebody's wallet. What we really want to do is focus on an enhanced payment experience. We want to build the best Bitcoin payment experience that you can get, and do it with whatever wallet you want to bring to us. We're not going to try and force you down a certain path or a certain rail or a certain wallet provider. You basically come to us with the tools that you're already comfortable with, including the fiat tools like Square, Stripe, whatever it might be, and we can give you this really amazing payment experience that you can just bolt into your existing flow. And we think that's, you know, one of the things in the current fiat world, usually for businesses and individuals alike, you might set up a bank account, and you'll probably never set up a bank account again for 20 years if you're a business. It's one bank account, and then you connect it into one platform. In the Bitcoin space, it's just so easy to set up wallets and set up nodes, and you're going to have multiple ones. So we think this is really like a key aspect of what differentiates Zaprite. Is we understand that people are going to have Bitcoin sources from a lot of different places, and they want that Bitcoin to go to a lot of different places for various reasons. And because these accounts are so easy to set up, we have to have these corresponding easy connections as well into our checkout, which is one of the real cool features of Zaprite. And so what does this look like incorporating it into a business? So this is kind of like, you know, this is one of our fake demo companies that we've set up here. But this could be for somebody who's maybe running, say, a Bitcoin conference. On the left-hand side, you got an example of a payment link. You could be selling tickets for your conference. So you can set up your payment link. That's your one-to-many. People can buy these tickets, and obviously that all routes into a custom checkout. The center one is invoicing. Maybe you're going to send invoices out to your sponsors who are sponsoring your conference. So again, you can create these customized invoices and send them out. And then the third one is, it could be like a WooCommerce store or something that you have set up. You're selling merchandise for your conference. And again, it kind of gives you an idea of the checkout. Your Lightning, on-chain, fiat rails, whatever you've built your checkout to be. And then one of the cool features as well is you can incentivize people to use the Bitcoin rails by offering discounts on those or adding a premium onto the payments that you don't really want to take. So there's really a lot of stuff that you can do on these custom checkouts, and with the ability to bring any wallet in there as well. Like, it's a really powerful tool. So touching briefly on building through cycles, you know, we've had this like laser focus on Bitcoin payments like from the start. As I said, it came out of a need that I had personally to earn Bitcoin and get it in self-custody as much as possible. And so that's really what we're focusing on, and obviously adding in the custodial and fiat sides of it as well, is just kind of rounding out that overall product. This is really what we're kind of like, you know, this is our core mission, as I said before, is to be a complement to wallets and to build the ultimate payment experience on top of these wallets, because we realize that you know, as more and more businesses figure out, they've already understood the store of value. Now they realize, okay, now we have to actually get this Bitcoin onto our treasury for all the various reasons that we talked about before, and just helping them do that in the best way possible, the most efficient way possible, using the most beautiful, user-friendly product that we can, is really what we're focused on. And we want to work with businesses that understand Bitcoin and really want to get Bitcoin onto their treasury and their balance sheet. So we spend a lot of time working one-on-one with businesses to onboard them, because we know that they understand Bitcoin, and we know that they're not just going to like take it in order to sell it. So it's really what we do is we're basically you know, really kind of focused on that singular mission. The kind of future for us, we're obviously going to keep expanding on the connection side of things. We've got you know, a ton of companies that we're either in discussion with now or working on connections now to get those in there as well. And that will obviously just keep expanding, because as we know, there's a ton of different platforms, whether they're, you know, self-custody wallets or custodial exchanges and solutions. The e-commerce solutions as well, like I mentioned, we have WooCommerce, but we'll obviously start working with Shopify. We'll work with accounting tools like QuickBooks and others as well, and we'll start building in a lot of those tools that, again, just just allow you to bolt another layer on top to use that payment experience that we're offering, to have that seamlessly flow into other tools that people are accustomed to using. I mentioned the API and webhooks. It's in beta testing right now with a few of our users, and they're really happy with how easy it is to use and how seamless they're able to integrate it into their custom sites. So we've got great feedback on that. We think that's going to open up, as I mentioned before, a whole future market that didn't currently exist. They had to go through our platform before. Like I said, this is huge now to expand this out. And the subscriptions as well. We actually built our own subscription model. We launched paid subscriptions, a couple of months ago. But we didn't use Stripe or anything like that. We basically built our own subscription model in-house. And we just had one basic plan that we launched, with the reason that we're going to push this feature out to our users eventually, because this is something that our users want as well. They want subscriptions. They want the ability to charge their users with recurring subscriptions. And so we'll look into a lot of the tools that are now coming out, particularly in the Lightning space as well, to allow a lot of that to be automated. Obviously, with the on-chain stuff, like, it's harder to do a lot of that stuff, but as these tools progress, we'll be able to seamlessly integrate those into the current flows that we have. And the last line there, really for us, it's just all about expanding the amount of businesses that are taking Bitcoin. We really want to make it as simple as possible, because we just understand it's an inevitable future, and we know that businesses will eventually get to that conclusion as well. A lot already have. And so that's really what we're seeing now, is these businesses approach us and say, okay, we get it. We know we have to get a Bitcoin payments situation set up. We don't want to leave it till later on. And so that's really what it's about for us, is building those tools that expands that reach, a lot more, as much as we possibly can. And yeah, I believe that's it. That's all I've got. We're probably going to do Q&A if everybody's not starving for lunch already. But yeah, thank you.
All right, let's go to hand to John. All right, now for Q&A.
Awesome presentation, appreciate it. So my name's Levi. I'm actually from BigCommerce, based here in Austin, Texas.
Awesome.
Should definitely consider an integration into our platform. But I'm curious, you mentioned businesses are understanding they need to get Bitcoin on their books. I would be curious, from your point of view, which industries, from a merchant's perspective, are most interested in getting Bitcoin on their books right now?
That's a good question, and we're seeing a wide variety of businesses. As I mentioned before, we don't do KYC on the users, so we don't actually see a lot of what comes in. We know there's a lot of people who are using it that we just don't know what their business is, but we are seeing a wide variety of usages. We're seeing doctors, dentists, a lot of people in the healthcare industry. There's a lot of freelancers. Every time I go and talk to other Bitcoin companies, other founders, I hear from them all the time, like, oh yeah, we get 5 or 6 of Zaprite invoices in every month that we're paying our contractors. We know there's people who use it in the example that I gave, that are running events and conferences and meetups and things like that for selling tickets, and the tickets for this event here today. So it really is a wide variety. I wouldn't say there's any one particular industry, and the variance of it is great, because we do see, like I said, industries like, individual healthcare practitioners and stuff, particularly here in Austin, who just really understand the benefits of Bitcoin and want to get it on their balance sheet. So yeah, from what I can see, it's a wide variety.
Great, thanks.
Hey, I'm Joey, and I was using your product early on when it was just invoices, so it's really cool to see what you guys are building and adding on, as well as what's on in the future. Could you say more about the accounting and reporting side of it? Because you're solving a big problem where businesses are hesitant to have Bitcoin because it creates a lot of accounting requirements on top of just fiat. So I'm just curious if you could say more about how you're seeing fiat, Bitcoin, and the accounting, and how that could help a business to onboard as well as fulfill their tax requirements.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, two of the biggest things that are blockers for Bitcoin today, I'd say, particularly on the merchant side, is accounting and taxes. It's really, nobody wants to deal with that mess at the best of times, and when you're adding in a second currency and you have to deal with live exchange rates and everything, it's really crucial that you have all of that information that you need to give to your accountant or whoever is doing your accounts. So everything that runs through Zaprite, we have a full database of the timestamp, the live exchange rate, the wallet that was used, any like external references, whether it's an on-chain transaction ID or an external reference, say from Strike for an order that went through their platform. We really have all of that information, and we provide it in a CSV download right now. You know, in the early days of Zaprite, I like having a full accounting suite was something I talked about, and I don't know if any of you were here yesterday. We have John from Clams gave a great demonstration of what you can do as you start to like pull in all of these payments. It's a very difficult thing to do, and so you know we do want to start expanding the stuff that we offer there. Like I mentioned, the QuickBooks integrations and things like that. But talking to our users early on, they really just said to us, like, we just need a CSV. Just give us a CSV download and we're good. We can deal with all of that. So that's what we did. We pushed that, and we've been tweaking that with feedback. Like every so often you say, can we add in this column and add in that? So we'll tweak that. But that seems to work for the majority of users right now. As I said, we will look at things like Xero, QuickBooks, and everything else. And then obviously other tools that are starting to implement more full accounting suites, we'll work with those as well. But it's all about kind of, you know, Grant mentioned it in his presentation earlier before as well. There's a lot of Bitcoin companies that will work together because we're all in the same space. We're all trying to promote Bitcoin. So even though there might be small overlap in certain companies, like we'll always want to work with each other to provide the end user with the best Bitcoin experience they can.
Question?
Hey, Gary from Austin, Texas. I got two questions. One is a brick and mortar like cafe, coffee shop that now. Are y'all the solution for somebody that wants to take Bitcoin or Lightning? And how would the fees compare to something like Square currently on credit card rails?
Yeah, so right now you can use Zaprite as a point of sale system. It's not the most user-friendly thing because we haven't optimized for it. We haven't built a UI for it. But for the payment links that you can create in Zaprite, you can create those as a donation form by simply checking a box that says customer chooses what to pay. And so when the checkout loads, it loads a box that says enter your amount and then click next and we show the checkout. So you could like load that up on an iPad in a coffee shop or whatever. And then as you're taking orders, like for coffee, it's like, you know, $5, you punch it in, you press the button, you turn it around and they can pay. So you can use it. It's a bit clunky. We will definitely add a proper POS UI in there so people can use it. That's definitely on our roadmap. We've had multiple requests for that, and it's definitely in there. In terms of the fee aspect of it, because we're non-custodial, we don't charge fees on transactions. So whatever you connect up to us, if on the fiat side, particularly whether it's Square or Stripe, whatever, you're just going to pay their platform fees. The on-chain and Lightning stuff, again, we don't touch it. It's direct peer-to-peer, so we don't take percentage fees or anything on that. Our model is a SaaS model, $25 a month right now, or $20 a month if you pay annually up front. And we're going to start looking at, you know, various tiers on that as well as we expand out the product and offer more, you know, enterprise features and things like that as well. We can look at whether we need to have lower tiers or higher tiers on that as well. But yeah, hope that answered that.
Question? Oh.
Hi. I actually just started using Zaprite recently. It's very, very slick, so well done.
Thank you.
I'm curious, just in building it, what you found was the most challenging aspect of making it all work so well, and maybe some lessons learned for other people who are trying to build on Bitcoin in a very user-friendly way.
Yeah, I love this question. So as I mentioned before, my background is graphic design, UI, UX. And so, I mean, I've heard a lot of feedback from people that the app looks beautiful, which is great. That's always nice to hear. But I mentioned before the origin story, and I had a need myself for this service, but I wasn't really a developer. I'd done some PHP development and taught myself HTML and CSS before and basic stuff building WordPress. But I didn't really know how to build a modern web app. I hadn't done React or JavaScript or anything before. So Nate, who currently works at Unchained, I don't know if he's here today or not, but I knew him from my Bull Bitcoin days, and he's an amazing developer, and he kind of stepped in and helped me get set up with a framework for like an Next.js app and start working on that. And I basically just rolled up my sleeves and figured out how to code a React app, and I built it. And I built the MVP, and it was okay, it worked, but the code was garbage. So the first thing we did when we raised some pre-seed money was got a proper developer to come in there and actually build it. And that took 7 or 8 months, and he did an absolutely fantastic job and laid the groundwork for a lot of the stuff that we're actually starting to release now, like the Teams feature. That was one of the things I'd mentioned to him that we absolutely have to do. And so he actually built all of the code into that in the background from day one. So when we came to release that feature, it was a simple matter of just building the UIs for it on the front end, and then everything was already in there. So that's the kind of approach that we're taking, like, because we did go through that full code rewrite last year, the end of 2022 and into 23, we launched it in April. We're in a really great position now to actually start iterating very quickly and offering these products because the code base is so strong and solid. But from the early beginning days, yeah, it was spaghetti code. It was mine. It was bad. It wasn't good, but it did the job, and it got users interested on board and started getting us feedback on features and stuff that they needed.
All right, we got time for 1 or 2 more questions. Sean?
Curious what percentage you're seeing as far as Lightning, on-chain, and fiat payments being processed.
Yeah, so for our subscription payments, I know, and I think this broadly goes across the platform, I think the last figures I looked at was 83% was Bitcoin, and that was split almost 50-50 on-chain and Lightning. Yeah, so it's really encouraging to see. A lot of our early users are Bitcoiners, and they're using it to accept Bitcoin. But obviously we see there is that need for the fiat rails in there as well. But those percentages are really, really encouraging, and it's great to see the 50-50 split on the Bitcoin and Lightning. But again, you know, we offer the invoicing side of it and the payment link side of it, and the invoicing side of it, generally they tend to be larger payments. So like there is a good chunk of the on-chain stuff that comes through that. But yeah, the numbers are really encouraging.
One more question? All right. Wait, we got a question? Okay.
Thank you. Do you have plans to incorporate the feature to trade fiat for Bitcoin right away?
We don't want to get into the exchange aspect ourselves, but we do have plans to, I mean, we're already incorporated with Strike, and Strike has a really powerful API. They're doing some great stuff. They've released some new white label features as well recently. And so we're going to start looking at a lot of that stuff. You know, right now, every payment that comes through Strike, we settle as Bitcoin into your Strike account. But we do have options to start like looking at features where we can get users to choose that. For example, they might say like, I want, you know, half of it in USD or half of it in Bitcoin. So we'll definitely work with exchanges like Strike that already have those capabilities and have them released through an API. But as for ourselves, we're going to kind of stand back from a lot of that and just concentrate on the payment experience. And then where those flow of funds go, we'll add in the features that the users want from these various exchanges.
All right, let's give a hand to John.
Thank you.